Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Tea Writes. I'm your host, Jax Wolf. I'm a fantasy writer, not quite an author just yet, but hopefully someday soon. Let me switch up what we're listening to just for fun. Tranquil Wonderland, perhaps? Nah. There we go. Anyway, you have come to Tea Writes. That is my Saturday morning writing stream. Uh, the way it works is pretty simple. If you're on Blue Sky right now, consider clicking that link. That'll take you directly to our chat, which is open and ready to accept your words. You can say whatever you'd like in the chat so long as it doesn't violate YouTube TOS or make people uncomfortable. I will read things in the chat and respond to them. There is always going to be an icebreaker. That icebreaker is designed to help you ease into things, help you start thinking about writing and yourself and start talking about yourself in the chat. Today's icebreaker is a little bit recycled, I admit, because I've been using it all week, but it is simply who's your favorite character that you've created? Choose your favorite child. I know it's a challenge, but I believe in you. In about 30, less than 30 minutes, really, it's more like 27 at this point, we will begin the first of 3 writing sprints. Word sprints, really. And even then, we're still a little bit loose. If you've never done a word sprint before, I want to turn your attention to the top left-hand corner of your screen. You'll see a bunch of timers. The first one reads 20. That is our session. So they can be any length that you want, but we do 20 minutes because that feels about right. During those 20 minutes, the traditional thing to do is write as much as you can. However, we like to play things fast and loose, and my only rule is do whatever you'd like, so long as it improves your life in some way. So if it's making progress on your work in progress, that is writing or editing, or even doing art, or just meditating, chilling out, vibing, doing laundry, eating, whatever you'd like to do, so long as it's progress in something. At the end of the 20 minutes, we will celebrate your progress. You listed in the chat. I will read aloud and congratulate you on whatever you did. Then for the next several minutes, it will be 15 minutes for a break. And that is a break. I encourage you to step away from the computer and do whatever you need to do. Just rest your eyes, rest your fingers, and rest your brain for a bit. I will be talking during those 15 minutes to encourage you to get up and walk about. And at the end of the 15 minutes, we will dive back into another word sprint. We will do this a total of 3 times. Occasionally, we have the energy to do 4, but unfortunately, I have things to do today, and it is kind of, at least it's not as bad as it had been for the past few weeks. Uh, if this is your first Tea Writes, normally they stop at 10:30 after 3 word sprints because Saturdays are kind of busy for me. Um, Today, for example, it's usually I live. So okay, backing it up, I live in the New York City vicinity, and on Saturdays, it's it's my day off, so I like to go out and enjoy. Usually I'm meeting with friends, or usually I'm running errands into the city. And because there are certain things that you can only get in Manhattan, so sometimes I'm doing that. Whatever I'm doing, though, it usually involves a trip to the city. Today, however, no trip. However, family is coming in tomorrow, so that means that I have a whole laundry list of things to do. I need to bake bread for their breakfast. I need to take into consideration what they might like for dinner and make that for leftovers for tomorrow. I need to give Benjamin a bath. Benjamin, if you don't know, is my writing partner. And my general pet plush bee. He gets a bath once a month, and he is very much in need of one right now. Because though it's been a shorter month than usual, it's been an eventful one. He's been out with me to many places, and he is just wanting for a bath. So it is bread and bath as soon as we're done with the stream, and then afterwards, cleaning and cooking, and just in general, we're going to see where the today takes us. But until then, it's going to be a chill stream. Usually it typically is. Uh, but this first half an hour is usually spent letting people filter in. Today, it's going to be completely editing. So the past couple of night rides, I had actually just written out the dialogue for the remainder of a chapter that I'm working on. Uh, I've never really talked about what this is about in a stream. Just one second. But basically, I'm working on what I hope to be my fantasy debut novel called The Nameless Song. Well, it's not really called The Nameless Song anymore. The series is called The Nameless Song. I keep on calling it that though because I haven't really announced the other that, and the title that I'm thinking about changing it to is going to be longer. Specifically, it would be called The Ballad of Mick Martin. The next one, I do have a title for the next book, but it's a little bit of a spoiler, so we're going to just keep it hush hush for now. That, and I'm not completely in love with it the way that I am in love with this one. It might be like a fourth wing situation where I don't really follow the same naming convention every single book, but we're going to see what happens. But in any case, I am working on what I hope to be my fantasy debut novel. And I'm on chapter 13 specifically. Haha, I was working on chapter 13 on Friday the 13th, I know. But basically, The Nameless Song in general is about, uh, I like to call it a book about a dragon, aka an ace person, who turns into a dragon, aka a flying lizard. But it's a little bit more than that. Basically, the idea is that Mick Martin is a former waiter who has agreed to go off on an adventure with his best friend and secret crush, the daughter of the local count, Lady Eleanor de la Pout. And what that usually means is they're freelance monster hunters because monsters plague their world. Uh, it's all a holdover from a war that had ravaged their kingdom 400 years ago, uh, which is called the Lumina Wars, and it was specifically a war between their gods and dragons. 400 years ago, the dragons disappeared. They think that they went extinct. Uh, and for 400 years, their kingdom held on a new peace. But due to a magical mishap and shenanigans in general, Mick stumbles upon a magical talisman that turns him into a dragon and binds him to the god of the dragons. So consequently, he's charged with reigniting the war against the gods, which he does not want to do. Instead, he discovers that the dragons have not been extinct at all. They have been in hiding in a secret city state. And now he has decided that instead of leading a war exactly, he is going to reignite hope in the dragons and have them fight the war themselves, but more importantly, navigate a way to solve the original problem that drove the dragons and the gods into war against each other literally at the beginning of time. So it is a complicated book. It's a very political book. Uh, which is why it's been a difficult book to lay out. Originally, it had been a pretty straightforward chosen one scenario, but the more that I've worked on it, the more it's kind of migrated away from that. Part of that has been beta feedback. A lot of betas had been kind of bored with previous iterations of the book, so I've been trying my hardest to get it to some kind of conclusion that they actually like. Though I have kind of discovered recently that a lot of betas that I've been asking have just been super fucking critical, and the kind of people who just wanted to nitpick the books to death. Not that I'm ungrateful, but it's like a lot of the feedback that I'd get would just be criticism with actually no real uh, solid ground on how to fix things and what would be better. Like I was looking at the feedback for the ending of the book fairly recently, and the general feedback was basically, it's all right, but it's just a beam fight. And I'm like, okay, where do I take it from there, Because, like, if you just offer criticism and not real direction, then it's sort of like, okay, so what do I do with this? So I am kind of working on building up a direction myself, but it's like, it's hard to say whether or not that kind of feedback, or it would be well received after that kind of feedback, because like it kind of gave the impression that you just wanted to criticize, not really shape the book into something else. But hey, we'll. I know that I keep on complaining, and again, I don't mean to sound ungrateful for free help. Uh, it's just difficult to kind of decide whether or not that was help. But we'll see. We're working on it. We're making progress. This is the seventh draft essentially, and third or fourth rewrite. Let's see. There was draft 0, which was a completely different book from draft 2, which was a completely different book from draft 4. So yeah, it's the fourth rewrite actually. Um, so we're kind of just seeing where this takes us. But in any case, I don't mean to be negative right out the gate, but it is a book that there's blood, sweat, and tears going into, and I am liking a little bit better where it's going. I mean, if I didn't do this rewrite, there would be no bees. So I do give it that. But this is definitely going to be the last rewrite. 100%. I can't even care about what betas say and how bad the feedback is. Like, if they tell me that foundational shit is wrong again, then I'm going to be like, okay, you're not going to like the book then. But, is what it is. Anyway, I'm going to stop complaining about betas and griping about progress. The point is, progress is being made. I am on chapter 13, which is the chapter wherein Mick decides that he does want to be the conductor, and I will be working on. I wrote the dialogue for this chapter over the past couple of sessions, and now my job is to fill in the details between the dialogue and kind of like edit it, clean it up, uh, see if it works, see if the direction is good for the chapter. And then we get into chapter 14, which is Saint Nadia, which is the bees. Like, we've had hints of bees throughout the earlier chapters, but now we get to see Sanctuary's beehive that they are going to adopt and kind of take in and rescue, a la bee rescues. And they're going to be so cute, and I'm super excited, at least for the bees, because I guess it's something, it's also like part of it is it's something new. Again, I've worked on this story, I've rewritten it 3 times, going on the fourth, edited it through 7 drafts. Well, actually, 6 drafts going on 7. And it's like I kind of want like I'm kind of running the story into the ground by this point. So every new angle I find is a delightful new angle. Like previous chapters, it had been basically discovering mixed voice, and like you would think that I'd already have that, and I did have that in previous drafts. But this draft is like really embracing, him alone as the least suited character to lead a revolution. Uh, but now it's sort of like, okay, cool. We have Mick deciding to be a politician instead of a soldier. And also, now we have bees, and it's going to be excellent. Anyway, there have been stuff in chat, so let's move on to that. Taisha has walked in. Hello, Taisha. And Sherry as well. Hello, Sherry. Taisha says, good morning. I've got to go grab coffee, but we'll be back soon. Totally okay. See you soon. Sherry says, good morning, Jax. I'm around, but doing morning chores for this first bit. If you ever want another set of eyes, I have beta reader experience. I appreciate that. Thank you. And also good luck with chores for sure. That is an excellent use of our first sprint. Sherry also says, I rewrote my first novel so many times. Finally, I just kicked it out of the nest and moved on. That's really what I have to do for sure. Because, like, and I think, it also kind of makes sense because, like, if it's your first novel, you're going to be so nervous about whether or not you're doing things right, quote unquote. And that's certainly what I'm worried about. Like, the first novel will always be terrible, and I understand that. Uh, but it's kind of like the anxiety of it because I come from like a background of fan fiction. I wrote fan fiction for a shit ton of years, more years than I care to admit. Since I was a teenager, really, like my first fanfics were written when I was 14, and I realized, hey, I enjoy writing, so that's how I got my start, just generally writing. But I spent a whole lot of years writing fanfiction that a very few people commented on. So that was one thing. And B, I was kind of quote unquote getting ready to write original fiction. So it's sort of like between those two things, I was just hyping myself up for anxiety attacks over and over and over again. Because when you decide to start in fan fiction to quote unquote get ready for original fiction, all you're doing is really just setting yourself up for certain expectations uh, that you have to understand may never actually be fulfilled. So, really, if you want to write original fiction, actual the actual best way to do it is to sit down and decide, hey, I want to start in on an idea and I'm going to dive in and do it. Because otherwise, you are just basically, you will never feel like you're ready to make the jump until you actually make the jump. So there's that, but also slight little bit negativity as well. But like literally, I was the kind of author that you would read and kind of don't think about commenting on. And then ages later, you'll be like, hey, I remember reading this in high school. I want to go and dig that up again. I wrote mostly that. So when I started kind of like dropping fanfics and being like, hey, yeah, I'm not actually going back to this ever again. I'm moving on to a different story. People would be like, hey, yeah, I read this ages ago, and I wish you the best of luck on your next project. And I'd be like, why didn't you say this beforehand? But that's just me. It is what it is. But honestly, it also taught me a valuable lesson, and that is people will read your stuff regardless. You might not think that people will read it, but somebody out there is going to pick it up and read it, and that's all you need to do in order to be a good, like any sort of author. Oh yeah, I forgot that I had the icebreaker up. I had already answered the icebreaker, so I won't this time. Uh, it is basically Mick though. But Sherry says, one of my favorite characters is the quote unquote bad guy from my book, My Time of Dying. He's a proto godling named Bean. You already had me at proto godling, but do tell. And Sherry says, so true, readers will find your books. Exactly, and they won't always leave reviews. Now, I understand that reviews are important to an actual, like, an author who is paid to write. Like especially indie authors, because that reviews help you uh, gain traction in the algorithm and sell more books. But there will always be somebody who stumbles across your book with 0 reviews, and they'll be like, huh, that sounds like an interesting premise, I'm going to buy that book. And that's really all that matters. Taisha says, so encouraging to hear that people will find your book, yes. Only fiction I've published so far is some flash fiction pieces, which I enjoyed writing. I love flash fiction, but yeah, absolutely. Somebody will read your stuff, 100%. And also, hell yeah, to publishing the flash fiction, because that's also still valid. Um, yeah, but I don't think we're in as much of a void as you would think. Like, you can be super terrible at marketing, but somebody will buy your book, and that somebody will be somebody other than the people that you've given the book to. Uh, so somebody will at least read, and so long as you set your bar there, you'll be fine. Uh, and I know that's going to be difficult to be like, well, I kind of hope my dream is to make a living off of writing, and I'd hate to tell you this, but nobody actually does that these days except for the super big names who established themselves ages and ages ago. Like, when I heard that, and forgive me if I butcher this name, I've only actually read it, I've never actually heard it pronounced, but it's Jiren Zhao, the author of Iron Widow. Uh, again, they don't say their name in their own TikToks, or at least not the ones that I've watched. But the reason why I bring up the TikToks is because I did see one where they say that they were like a year out from publishing Iron Widow, right? And they were working on Heavenly Tyrant, and Heavenly Tyrant got delayed, and the reason they gave was because they only got $5,000 for the publishing of Iron Widow. And that's after it went to become it then that was after it was a runway hit, international bestseller, and they only got $5,000 from that. And that's kind of it, isn't it? Like, even if you self-publish, you're not going to get that much in royalties because of how much in royalties every platform takes. So it's like you just kind of have to accept that you're going to work a second job, my dudes. But it is what it is. Um, but the point is, there is a lot of struggle in publishing, and even when you make it, quote unquote, like you're an international bestseller, your books are on the bookshelf and whatnot, you will still find something that isn't quite what you hoped it would be because the publishing industry just isn't what it used to be. And it's kind of like that's been a thing for the past couple of years. It's fairly new. So make manageable goals now, is all I'm saying. If you're just getting started, just aim for getting somebody to read your work. Don't aim for like being JKR with an entire store dedicated to your bullshit or an entire theme park dedicated to your bullshit and 8 movies and all kinds of other goodies. Like you're not gonna, it's just not going to happen that way. When you first start out, you're going to, or at least don't expect it to happen that way because there's a good chance it won't. And that's the unfortunate truth. And it sucks, but you know, what can we do? And that, I am super sorry. That is like the third time I've dipped down into negative talk. I will try not to be. Uh, in other news, it is 2 minutes until the first sprint. So let's see. Back to the chat. Taisha says, although I did self-publish 2 nonfiction books, I'm always still amazed when someone tells me they've read them. So you're right. That is very cool to have happen. Favorite child character? I like a lot of the young characters in books by Diana Wynne Jones, which might be esoteric, all coming of age. I do have to admit that the icebreaker is favorite children of yours. So it's sort of like your favorite OC. Favorite. Is your favorite creation? It's not necessarily a child either. It's like anybody that you've created. I'm asking you to pick your favorite. Basically your favorite son or daughter. Tasha says, wow, regarding the 5K, right? Sherry says, I write because it keeps me sane, and I self-publish because I enjoy the idea of sharing the characters and the stories. There we go. I agree with Tasha who called that a great reason. Uh, absolutely. Write it because it feels pleasurable to you, which is also why I'm probably going to take your advice and kick this book out of the nest once I'm done with this draft and the editing of this draft. I might still do like reading phase, like I'm going to give it to certain readers and say, hey, I don't want you to actually edit. I'm not really looking for ways to change this. I kind of just want to hear what Goodreads review you would give this. But we'll see. So it is 9 a.m., so I'm going to very quickly go through the remainder. Sherry says son, daughter, or godling, giggle. Exactly. Tasha says, haha, sorry for misinterpreting the icebreaker. Would be one of my MCs for my current work in progress. His name is Damien. Agreeing with Sherry with the comment, I love the name Damien. That is definitely a vibe, 100%. Like gothic vibes. Hell yeah. Anyway, 9 a.m. So let us prep for the first session. Back straight in your chair if you're sitting. To your docs if you haven't gotten already. Deep breath in. And let it out. One more time. Deep breath in. And let it out. 20 minutes are on that first clock. Get ready. Get set. And good luck. Here we go. All right, that is the first sprint. How did we do? I admit I got a little bit distracted, but that is 387 words edited and filled in. So not bad. Getting there. But I do need to pick up the pace a teeny bit. But how did the rest of you do? Tesha had said, just as the sprint was starting, name has Greek origins meaning to tame. Possibly he has inner demons, and yes, possibly a bit gothic. And this is about her character Damien, which is excellent. I have to admit that every time I think of the name Damien, I automatically think of the Omen, because of course I do. Or Omen knockoffs, because of course I do. So it does have certain vibes. I don't necessarily think of the name, think of evil characters when I think of Damien. However, I do delight in that kind of vibe for sure. Sorry, I just got temporarily distracted. Okay, so story time. A couple weeks ago, this area had gotten a blizzard, right? Well, continued story time. Last year, uh, not necessarily right around this time, but somewhere in the spring slash summer, a spider had made its nest right outside of my window, right next to my desk. And I'm talking, I got to watch this little guy spin a web, hunt, wrap up food, and so on and so forth. I cannot tell if it was a male or female, so I don't know if it laid an egg sac. However, at the end of the season, most of the web was gone, except for this clump, and I can't quite tell what's inside the clump. There are like little dots, but I can't tell if that's like dead insect parts, not to be graphic, or spider poop or eggs. Hard to say. But a couple weeks ago, we had a massive, massive blizzard, and I will emphasize that this clump lasted through most of the autumn and the winter. We had windstorms, we had rain, we had snow, we had everything. But the blizzard that we had a couple weeks ago had extremely high powered winds. And when I woke up the next day and took a look at what was going on outside, I did not see the clump anymore. So I was like, oh, well, I guess it blew away. Oh, well. So I just looked up right now, and it is a slightly windy day. And I see the clump kind of like dangling off of the opposite corner from where it had started. So I'm guessing that the spider web just kind of like got blown in that direction and got pasted into the opposite corner. I should really clean it off, but I have no idea what's in it. If it's baby spiders, I kind of want to leave it alone. So that was my goal, basically, to just sort of leave it alone until spring. And if I see baby spiders, excellent. If I see nothing, then I vacuum it up and let it and just sort of clean it up. Now it's out of the way of the window, so I'm kind of thinking I'll just leave it alone. Let nature take its course. If it stays there forever, it stays there forever. But in any case, uh, sorry, Sherry says 139 words and some chores done. Excellent. Taisha says good to know about the Omen vibes. Edited some more of my chapter and made good enough progress. I'll take it. Excellent. That is what we love to see for sure. Man, it also going to looks like a beautiful day out there. I kind of don't want to spend it all inside, even though I have like so much stuff to do. Like, again, my plan for today is to at some point bake bread. Oh, it's actually going to be windy. It's a gale warning right now, apparently. Uh, so yeah, maybe it is a good day to stay inside. Tomorrow it's supposed to be. Oh, good. Tomorrow it's supposed to be rain apparently, but it's not gonna be too bad. So I can actually go out, pick up my family, and go have fun. Uh, and just show them around the neighborhood. So that's excellent to hear. But I suppose gale warning means stay indoors. Uh, it's kind of funny because ages ago I didn't really care about gales, but living here specifically, I basically live at the top, or not to go too deep into it, but where I live, it gets super fucking windy, and the wind fucking hurts to walk through. Terrible, terrible gusts that are physically painful and hit you hard. And I don't know if it's like climate change and wind has actually gotten worse, or if it's just where I moved to after breaking up with dipshit. But I generally don't go out unless it's absolutely perfect. Clouds are okay, but wind has to be not gales. And I prefer it when it's not raining all that much. Snow's fine a little bit. Uh, but absolutely not to if it's predicting thunderstorms. I don't know what it is, but in the past couple of years, also my astrophobia has gotten super worse. So fun personal fact that you get to learn that other sessions have actually learned, because this is why I had stopped the Wednesday stream early and why I had a Makeup Friday stream. But I'm actually astrophobic. So what that means is I am deathly afraid of lightning. So in previous years, this would be basically confined to being outdoors when it's when I can hear thunder. So that's usually my signal. Okay, yep, I'm going inside. Nope, nope, nope. But in recent years, it's been if it's predicted to be thunderstorms and I see dark clouds on the horizon, I'm like, absolutely not. I am fucking booking it back to my apartment. And also, my computer is literally right next to a window, which normally is fine, but during thunderstorms, I have to be like, nope, nope. I am taking what I can, and I'm going into the little narrow hallway just in front of my front door, and I'm going to sit there for a while until things clear up. Or I'm going into the bedroom and hiding under the covers with Benjamin. It's a little bit childish, but it's like I cannot deal with lightning anymore, and it's kind of it is a little bit unreasonable because especially in the city, there are lightning rods on every single building. You will not get hit by lightning if you tried. If you went out in copper plate armor and stood out in the middle of Manhattan, you will be more likely to be next to a building that gets struck by lightning than actually being struck by lightning yourself. Granted, I don't necessarily live in the city, so I am uh, a little bit more susceptible to being struck by lightning. But I take no risks, 100%. Uh, that said, let me go back to the chat. Tasha says, love baking bread. Do you have a go-to recipe? Yes, I have this recipe that my mom sent me on Facebook, and it's called Amish white bread. Pretty sure it's not actually Amish, but especially since it's not made like Amish friendship bread. It is literally just white bread. But for some reason, this comes out uh, exactly as I want it to every single time, like decent loaves. My second favorite one is actually a recipe that I found. I don't remember where I found it, but somebody posted it to a blog, like screenshots from the Peanuts recipe book that from like the 1950s or 60s. And it is the softest white bread that I've ever tasted in my life. The problem is that you need milk for it, and I do not have at the moment. That's another thing that I have to do. I have to put together a grocery order. It's been a while. But the point is, like, I have to admit, I am very basic. I just go for white bread because it's the one that's the most consistent when it turns out. And it's delicious. It goes with everything. If you want to make soup, it's perfect for that. So 100%. I do want to eventually try sourdough, but I'm afraid of making my own sourdough and feeding sourdough. Like, I am also kind of big on trying to avoid botulism, but, or getting foodborne illnesses, which I know doesn't make sense with sourdough because you bake it, but, it's like, I don't know. I don't know about the like making the sourdough and maintaining it. It sounds like a lot of work to me. That's all. But yeah, white bread. Just throw things into a mixing bowl and let it rise and bubble up for a bit. It's a super easy bread to make too. The only downside, like the only thing that you really have to do is the usual kneading. But and letting it rise. Mine actually takes twice as long as what my recipes say to rise. I don't know why in this place, but hey. Taisha says it was super windy here last night. Apparently, it's 60 to 70 mile per hour winds. Jesus Christ. Woke me up multiple times. Agreed, not a fan of winds. Yeah, that sounds like what we had during the blizzard, which is probably why I suffered from really bad insomnia that night because I live in an old building with kind of newish windows, and I'm not 100% sure they installed the windows correctly. So imagine a blizzard rattling windows, and you're like full of anxiety as it is. So yeah, not a fan. I have melatonin gummies now if it ever happens again. But yeah, I don't like wind all that much anymore. I used to, but not anymore. Uh, Sherry says, I think we are out of most of the storminess this weekend. It's dropped about 20 degrees, but it's only a slight chance of rain and snow. Someone says it's going to be in the 80s mid next week. I don't like this weather. Um, that unfortunately, I know is climate change because it's just ridiculous how much we're bouncing like across the country. I think we're suffering from extreme everything. It's just because we're not taking good care of the planet, I do believe. Like, I firmly believe that. Uh, two people left the chat. Oops. But, it's like, it is scary what's going on with the weather. And I feel like there's not that much that's being talked about when it comes to it. Like, I'd see articles saying, yeah, we're going through it, and, like, not why. I think there's a general implication of why, but it's like, cool. But I remember when I was a kid, March would be kind of not like they say in like a lion out like a lamb for March, but I feel like this is like a rabid fucking lion. I distinctly remember back when I was a kid, that used to mean, oh, it's going to be cold and windy consistently. But eventually it's going to mild out and to go from like consistently 40s to consistently 50s. And now it's just sort of like, yeah, last week you had a blizzard, but next week you're going to have high of 80s. And I'm like, I feel like that's not good. But anyway, 30-second warning, so I will go through the rest very quickly. Yeah, I have a potato bread recipe that I love that is also basically a white bread when the kids are tired of my sourdough loaves. Sourdough really isn't that hard. I do want to learn how to make potato bread too, because when I was a kid, that was my favorite type of bread, because it was soft and sweet. So absolutely. Taisha says, honestly, I feel you on the microbe concerns. I felt that way about kombucha and making my own yogurt. You are fucking brave. especially with the kombucha because so many things could go wrong with that. Sherry says, "LOL." Huh? Wonder who. Taisha says, "Huh? Wonder who left." That is a good question, but we're back up one. Sherry says, "Not a fan of bread recipes, maybe." It's fun to make when you can get into it, but it does take time and it's very messy if you're doing kneading. By the way, 20 minutes are on the clock, so I will continue on with the chat, but then get back into it. You get back into it, the rest of you though. Uh, Whoever's not participating in chat. Taisha says there's a whole genre of climate hope punk. Found some interesting authors on Blue Sky. Actually, I need to get more into that. I know that Elizabeth. I don't remember what last name she uses for her pen name, but you'll know her when you see her. She does a climate hope punk about that's very tarot themed, and it's about a person going and trying to solve world problems with meditation. And that sounds kind of but it's in practice very cool. So, and I know that there's Elizabeth, but I need to go and find more people for sure because I do need hope. Tasha says bought one of their collections of short stories, which is awesome. Feel free to like toss in suggestions too. Sherry says climate hope punk. I'm going to have to see if that fits my dragon novel vibe for sure. Taisha says right. It's a Bright Green Futures by Susan K. Quinn. Guess they call it solar punk mostly instead of hope punk. Punk hair splitting. Totally cool, but I think solar punk and hope punk go hand in hand. Solar punk is kind of like uh how do I describe it? It's an aesthetic for sure. It's basically cyberpunk, but with the way I understand it is it's cyberpunk, but actually communist and uh, kind of filled with hope and leans into Art Nouveau. So it's the idea of, hey, things have gotten bad, but we're going to push back with farms and greenery and forging a better future in general. And Hope Punk is generally, hey, things are bad, but we are going to fight back against the darkness with light um, and joy and being hopeful in spite of what's going on. Like, I consider myself more of a hope punk writer because I don't like my stories are all about like, hey, we're facing the darkness, but instead of getting angry about it, and don't get me wrong, rage books are valid as well, but I cannot write rage because I feel that for me anyway, rage is not productive. uh, Not everybody can take up arms and lead the revolution. And if you only have that, then you're not going to have a functioning society afterwards. So my concepts are about facing darkness with joy and hope and all the things that hope and having it uh, can do. So that's the main focus. Whereas solar punk is more of an uh, eco-communist ideal. So it's that's really the difference. Like hope punk is a vibe, whereas solar punk is more of an aesthetic. But they do go hand in hand, again, because if you're writing solar punk, chances are you are also writing about a hopeful future. You are saying things have gotten bad. However, uh, I choose to believe that we can fix things. And here is a version of the future wherein things are getting fixed, or they've already been fixed. But that's it. Um, I have talked a lot during this, so I'm going to go back to writing. 15 minutes are now on the clock. I do apologize for pushing into the sprint. So good luck. right, that is the second sprint. How did we do? I took a slight break to go and eat something because I realized that I had forgotten to eat. Uh, so, so I admit that I didn't get that much done, only about 297 words. Or actually, no. More than that, hasn't it? Because I'm pretty sure I was here. Okay. So it's a little bit more. 460. So it's not bad. I do hope that this chapter doesn't come off as repetitive. It's getting out a lot of things that need to be said. Uh, it's like Tosha says, edited some more of my chapter. Good enough. Kids started playing Animal Crossing, so mildly distracting. Totally cool. Animal Crossing is legit. Was legit a fun game. Now that I'm thinking about it, I've heard about Pokopia, and which is basically Pokemon meets Animal Crossing, and now I'm very curious and very tempted, but I'm trying not to. In part because no money, and in part because my Switch was given to me by my ex, so now it lives in a closet until I can sell it. So there's that. Um, but I do miss Animal Crossing, I, which is also on the Switch, and I do very much have FOMO about Pokopia. Just like chilling. A chill game sounds really nice today. So maybe once everything's said and done, I will find time to sit down with a very clean Benjamin. Because again, he is getting a bath immediately after the stream, along with bread baking. I will sit down with a very clean Benjamin and chill with some Stardew or something like that. But in any case, uh, Taisha says, and Jax completely agree with what you'd said about hope. My work is all hope punk. High five. Like, I think it's just because we've been going through it for so long that it's difficult to want to be angry. Like, anger is such an exhausting thing, and again, it is valid. If all you want to do is be angry, please be angry. But I don't know. It's like at some point, I want to believe that tomorrow, a better tomorrow, is possible or still possible. And I feel like if all I'm doing is getting angry, then I'm not working towards that. All I am doing is holding rage and a demand for justice for people. And you cannot build a better world on justice alone. You have to build based on the idea that there is a moment after. So rage is important because you still need to feel that in order to demand better of the people in charge, or demand that the people in charge who are not competent enough to be in charge get removed. But after that, you need to feel some kind of hope that you can build better. And also, if you just feel, what I've noticed about people who just feel rage is that they instead demand more from the people who are also trying to work towards a better future. So, like, instead of working alongside somebody else, they're always moving the goalposts, essentially. And it's very frustrating. And I say this as also a marginalized person, but basically, if somebody has the right intentions and they're willing to work, it's okay if they're not perfect. Somebody who's not perfect can learn better. Somebody who's not perfect but is willing to put in the work can learn better. And I feel like that's something that a lot of people who just focus on rage don't understand. Because when all you do is focus on rage, you need to feed more things to that rage. It's a fire. So all of a sudden, you demand perfection from literally everybody, and you don't believe, and basically, you don't believe that the people around you can be good because you need to believe that the literally anybody other than you has to be fed to the fire. Or at least that's what I've noticed from people who only focus on rage. And that is why I just can't. I just really can't. And I'm so sorry if that comes off as controversial or a hot take, but there is a point to fighting, and that point is not to fulfill bloodlust. That point, the point that comes behind every single fight and everything that we as a collective are trying to push people to do is to work towards a future. So you need to be ready to build, and you need to be ready to have hope, and you need to be ready to put in the work and lay down your arms at some point in order to create the future that you are hope that I would assume that you are hoping for. But if you're not hoping for a better future, if all you feel is rage and all you can think about is the present and your anger, then what are you doing? Right? Like what future are you hoping for? Like are you what does the future look like to you? And that's why I cannot fuck with people who all they do is talk about rage. Like I'm so sorry about getting angry about it myself, but like I don't know. That's why I'm into hope punk, and that is why I'm into that's why all of my works are even the ones that are not about the future, but are not about politics, but are about depression. They're not about rage. They're about breaking through the other side and finding a reason to keep on going. Excuse me. But yeah, um, Taisha says, "Have you tried uh, paella?" I have not even heard of that actually. Let's see. Oh, okay. It's free to play. Oh, okay. I've actually seen the aesthetics, but I've not actually taken a look at this. Uh, I might actually look into this a little bit more. But I do like the idea of a free to play, just chill out sim that's also an MMO. Hopefully, it has a good community because I can imagine that turning into. I used to play Minecraft a lot. I mostly, or I played a lot on different servers, but the largest one that I played on was like I think it was AussieCraft or it was like an Australian server. And I eventually like I found like this little town I was starting to build, and that's when I found out how people grief in Minecraft. So like I was exploring. I had brought in a friend of mine, and we were exploring the town that I was working on, and exploring the caves underneath, and we found this one dude just sort of like also exploring. We say hi, and then all of a sudden the dude chases us out with lava buckets. And long story short, this dude like brings in his friends, and they keep on harassing me with lava buckets, and it takes me calling into the admins being like, hey, yeah, I can't build because like this dude keeps on like, and it was bad, like lava buckets and constant death. They were sitting on my spawn point, so every time I'd pop up, they'd just kill me again. and somebody had put a sign with the N word in my garden, and it was like, why? And I know that these kids were like kids, but like, why? Like, we're all here to have fun, and it's like that. But it is what it is. That's why I'm always like very into community on MMOs. It's why I cannot get into WoW because their community is very toxic. But Final Fantasy is the first time that I've been in an MMO that where everything was like I haven't had a terrible experience with Final Fantasy, and like the very few times I've had experiences with Final Fantasy, I could tell that the people who I was having bad experiences with were originally WoW players because they have a certain style. Like Final Fantasy players are very helpful and they're very eager to help, and they're very friendly. They might be memey, but it's like otherwise they are very chill. WoW players are just there for a goal and they're very there to optimize gameplay. So if you're not playing your job correctly, they will vocalize it and they will be absolute shitheads. But everybody will fucking hate them. So there you go. Taisha says we're getting to like the 3 minute mark, so I'm going to read through and pick it up a little bit. Taisha says love Stardew. We played a fun fantasy version of Stardew Valley called Sunhaven if you're looking for something like that. I actually also play Sunhaven. It's been a hot minute since I played Sunhaven because I went back to Stardew Valley. But I'm also in that, and I do agree that it's also very fun. Taisha says, regarding rage, this is why I can't read the news anymore. It's just not productive. I also lived the news for the past year because I was a federal employee, but done with that job now. Jesus Christ, I am so sorry that you had to deal with that. I cannot imagine doing that from the inside. Um, Especially since, oh my god, if I recall correctly, you worked in one of the science departments, and those got hit hard last year, didn't they? I am so sorry. But yeah, it's like there's a lot of futility going on. I keep telling myself that it's just 2 more years, but who even knows what's going to happen in those 2 years? And who's going to come after, and what's going to be, what's will have to be done to clean up. Uh, like I hate to bring the Hague into it, but like I cannot wait until people get put in front of the Hague. That's all I'm saying. Not to get super political, but like there are some war crimes and violations going on, I think, and it's scary, and that's all I'll say. I won't get into it. It's terrifying, and I do agree that if you cannot handle the news, don't look at the news. Don't I mean, I still look at the news just to keep up with things because, again, I live in New York City. So, like, it's kind of important. I sit on a landmark, essentially. And whatever happens here, it's sort of like I need to know. Uh, I don't exactly have the, like, I just straight up need to know. But the way that I handle it is I listen to the news, I process it, and I think about what I can change and what I can't. Uh, I have been slacking on volunteering, but it's something that I need to pick up and look in my specific neighborhood. But I would recommend, if you're tired of the news, go find a volunteer group to go work with, for sure. Or find something else uh, because rest is also important for a revolution. Not to say anything, but I guess at this point we all know that I'm kind of like very into, very much a supporter of the socialism, socialisms. But anyway, where was I? Taisha says love Minecraft, but yeah, we are getting into the next sprint. 20 minutes will be on the clock when you hear the ding. But I'm going to very quickly go through the rest of the chat, and then I will stop because I need to get back to it myself. But in any case, Taisha says, there you go, 20 minutes on the clock. Tisha says, love Minecraft, but yeah, I only play on servers with friends anymore because griefing can be such a thing. It really is. Sherry says, I'm careful who I play with. I've played Guild Wars for years and love the community for the most part. Taisha says, I've heard good things about Guild Wars. Same, actually. I am kind of curious about it. Sherry says, if you ever pick it up, let me know. Taisha says, FDA, yup, cell and gene therapy reviewer. Yesterday was my last day. Starting to feel better. It'll take some time, though. Jesus Christ, the FDA especially got hit, didn't it? I'm so sorry that you had to deal with that. Sherry says, one of the people I protest with worked for USAID. Oh no. Taisha says, Guild Wars 2 or 3. Sherry says, I play 2 mostly. There isn't 3 at the moment. They just keep expanding 2. Taisha says, I don't know why I was thinking 3, thanks. And Sherry says, I also jump into the first one sometimes. It's probably because Guild Wars 2 has gone on for so long, so I can understand that. But anyway, I'm going to get back to it. Little less than 19 minutes are on the clock. Good luck, everybody. All right, that was the last sprint. How did we do? I admit I got a little bit distracted. However, I did go through 679 words, some of which is uh, editing. So there is that. Now, I would normally say, hey, let's do a fourth one. But again, I do have quite a bit ahead of me. For one, there is bread baking, which I will do. Cryptic says came in with 13 minutes left, got the dishwasher emptied. I mean, you did do stuff at least, but hey, welcome. We are unfortunately at the last sprint of the morning. Unless folks want to go for a fourth. Taisha says, got more chapter editing done, so I'll take it. Totally cool. Uh, so I will go over the list of things and I will let you decide if we should be enabled for another 20-minute sprint or call it here. But the full list goes as follows. Start the yeast and whatnot for bread. Clean out the kitchen sink and give Benjamin a bath, which takes about 20 minutes altogether. Knead the bread, which is another 10 minutes. Let the bread rise, which is a full hour for this first proof and another hour for the second. So altogether, we're looking at 2.5 hours for just getting the bread ready, and then another half an hour. So it's the bread is a 3-hour job. Cleaning Benjamin is a 20-minute job. Then he has to dry for several hours or at least 2 hours before I can move him. So while I am doing the bread, he will be drying. Let's see, what else? Then I have to tidy up I have to put away the laundry, tidy up in the bedroom, put together a grocery order, make dinner for tonight. It's a whole bunch of stuff. But an extra 20 minutes will not disrupt me too much. So I will let you all decide whether or not we're up for one more round. That having been said, are you up for another round? I will read off the chat while you guys mill on that. Sherry says, I spent most of the sprint identifying a new bird I am hearing in my yard this morning. I heard it the last few days. I think it's a northern flicker. And Taisha says, flickers are so beautiful. I've not actually heard that bird. I am Googling this now. Oh, those birds. It's like sometimes it's like you see birds, but you don't actually know what the names are, and then unless you hang out with bird people, it never crosses your mind to look up the name. But yes, this bird is very cute and very pretty. Taisha says I could do one more. Kids are still enjoying Animal Crossing. All right, yeah, that convinced me. Let's do one more. But halfway through, I will start in on the yeast and whatnot. I might even start setting that up. It's not super bad. The recipe is fairly easy at first. It's literally sticking sugar and yeast into a bowl and letting it bubble for 10 minutes. But that's like the start of every bread recipe that doesn't use yeast, but nonetheless. So we'll go for one more, especially since Cryptic just walked in. I should probably eat something other than a banana too, but it's one of those days where I kind of nibble here and there. So I also have to admit that I have been going through it in terms of health recently. And those of you who have been kind of following me since December have kind of watched me go in and out of all kinds of fun things. But basically, ovary has started to misbehave, which means that my entire lower right is in frequent cycles of bloating and pain, which is TMI, I know, but it's a thing that happens sometimes, and it messes you up in terms of everything else, especially digestion. So basically, during these periods, not literally periods, but during these cycles, I have been relying on what I can grab that's easy and within reach, basically. And it's terrible because it's not nutritious, but it's like when you're feeling like crap constantly, you don't feel like making an entire meal. I think that also contributes to how I feel. So I'm trying to get back into it, but putting food in mouth is hard sometimes. But anyway, I will keep I will continue to try to force myself to do so anyway. That having been said, uh, like yesterday, Jesus, I ate a bowl of mac and cheese with a little bit of tuna in it for protein, and for the rest of the afternoon, I had the worst heartburn. It was like absolutely terrible, the kind that not even antacids would help. And it's because, digestive gets screwed up whenever you can't, you know, you have a body part down there that's like, I would rather be the completely disrupt everything. And I have not wanted surgery all that much for transitioning, but in this case, I feel like I am considering it. Uh, Even just like to remove half of this, like the misbehaving half, and seeing if that would help. But I'm working with doctors at least, so we'll see. So that's a little bit more personal than I meant. Back to the chat, which has been going on about birds, which is excellent. Sherry says, I've seen flickers before. I love them. Taisha says, we get a lot of flickers here. Sherry says, it took me a few years to realize I'm a bird person. I have a dog walk soon, but I'm going to work another 10 minutes. Totally cool. So yeah, we will do one more round. And again, I will probably not be spending the entire time editing, although I am getting closer to the end of the chapter, so that's cool. But for sure, do as much as you can. I will be doing as much as I can, but I will also be splitting my attention. Taisha says birds are fun. I worked at an aviary for a while and with birds at a zoo. Possibly tried to tame some crows. Possibly tried. That's like a conscious decision there. But I also admire it because hell yeah, crows especially are very smart and very tameable. So I 100% support this. But yes. Anyway, continue taking a rest. I am just looking at my bread recipe. Uh, but yeah, I figure it's gonna be galing anyway. It's not. I'm not going outside. I don't know why I keep on being like, and it is 10:30, 10:40 here, so it's like I have time. It's basically going to be a day spent indoors. Yes, the sun is out, but it's like if it's gale warning, I don't need to be outside. I don't know why I keep on thinking I need to get everything done as quickly as possible. Other than maybe just to take a rest, I guess. But I should also summon the food app so that I can have a delivery. Tomorrow it's supposed to be kind of a little bit hectic. So my plan for tomorrow is basically I have to meet family at 4 o'clock in Manhattan. At least that's the estimated time. But I also want to go to a tea shop that's in Lower Manhattan. So I am basically waking up, getting the grocery order, assuming that I order it tonight for delivery tomorrow. I can also order it for tonight for delivery tonight, but we'll see. In any case, point is, I will also kind of make a little recommendation for those of you who come to New York. What I want you to do is go to St. Mark's Place. There's not like there are no museums or anything down there. There's just shops and restaurants. Uh, but it is what you would think of as New York. So this is like the gritty 1970s. It was like literally the home of punk rock back in the day and rock and roll back in the day. Like there used to be this world famous nightclub called CGBG. It was right in St. Mark's Place, and it informed the vibe of the rest of the neighborhood. Nowadays, it kind of, CGBG is gone. It's been gone since I want to say the 90s, early 2000s. But the vibe is still kind of there. It's very hipster down there. But it's a lot of fun. And if you know anything about Led Zeppelin, uh, they have an album cover called Physical Graffiti. Uh, and it is this pair of buildings. Basically, they call it tenements, but it's basically brownstones. It's actually nicer than you would assume. And it is right in St. Mark's Place. And nowadays, in the basement of those buildings, is the best tea shop I have ever been to. I'm talking high quality loose leaf tea. It's so good. And it is called Physical Graffiti. Instead of TI, it's TEA. They have an online storefront, by the way, and they do shipping, I think, across the US. So you can do that too. But I highly recommend actually going in person. Is like this little hippie uh, basement full of tea, and the people there are super nice. They will give you recommendations and kind of give you a few pointers on how to brew tea and whatnot if you're a super newbie. But definitely go there because the tea just tastes amazing. Like the most incredible tea blends I've ever had in my life. The best Earl Grey. Like my absolute favorite tea is their cream Earl Grey. I have a huge bag that I bought way back in like December, and I'm halfway through that bag, but I want to go back because now I need chamomile tea. Uh, I have been suffering from insomnia lately. Uh, I've actually, it's one of the things that I've talked to my doctor about. I'm scheduled for a sleep study soonish to figure out what's going on and to, compile an argument for certain types of medication that might help with both the physical problems and the insomnia. But the long and short of it is basically since the blizzard, I have been drinking a shit ton of chamomile tea. But the unfortunate thing is that the only type that I could find in my immediate neighborhood is the fucking celestial seasoning bullshit. And I say bullshit for two reasons. Number one, I hate celestial seasonings tea bags because they shed microplastics into like I don't even know if it's microplastics. They shed fucking something into your tea. Like the first sip will always be full of pointy, and I'm like, what are you even doing? And number two, fun side fact, if you didn't know, but Celestial Seasonings is run a company that's literally run by a cult. So I don't like giving my money to them. However, that is the only brand of chamomile that my local grocery store carries, and it baffles me. Like you don't even have store brand chamomile tea. It's like Celestial Seasonings. So anyway, yeah, do not give your money to Celestial Seasonings. That is my tea nerd fact for the day. If you can shop local, and if you can get loose leaf, you will thank me later. Like just get loose leaf and a cheap strainer. Strainers are super cheap. If you're in the Manhattan area, go to Muji, get yourself a little tea strainer for like. I know it sounds like outrageous pricing. I feel like mine was only about $10, which sounds like outrageous pricing. But number one, New York pricing, and number two, it's a high quality strainer, dude. But it is my little partner in crime in the mornings. Uh, Second only to Benjamin. But yeah, get yourself a tea strainer. Get yourself some loose leaf tea and go to town. Do not buy those tea bag bullshit. Don't do that. You are just shedding shit into your tea. Um, finally. Jesus, that was a long bit of ramble. I will uh, set up the next timer for 20 minutes. However, let me just read off the last bit. Taisha says, I'd been leaving dog feed out for our crows last winter, which they came to visit regularly, but unfortunately it also attracted raccoons and other wildlife. Huh. I can definitely see raccoons being like, ah, yes, for buffet. So, but on the other hand, raccoons are cute also, so, and very smart. I know that they also carry rabies, but still. Cryptic says I have one of those little infuser of T-balls that looks like a rubber duck who floats on the top, and I love him. I love that for you. Yeah, tea strainers can also be fun, just fun fact. So get yourself a tea strainer. It is worth it. You will have better tea and you will have fun. But that having been said, 20 minutes are on the clock. I'm going to spend the first 20 or the first few stepping away from the computer for a quick second. Not for yeast, but for other reasons. But I will be back in just a bit. Good luck for anybody else who's doing the 20 minutes. Taisha says, my favorite beta reader literally shipped me a bunch of her favorite hand-selected teas, loose leaf for infusers. Love her so much. Now that is a solid friend right there. Enjoy that loose leaf tea. It's such a better experience. Anyway, 20 minutes on the clock. Get ready. Get set. Force go around. Here we go. right, that is it. How did we do? I might have gotten distracted trying to look at colors, but I did get 316 words edited. I just have a little bit left in this chapter, kind of, sort of. It's still going to be maybe another 1,000 words to add on, but we're getting there. But that having been said, Sherry is off for a dog walk. If we've missed her entirely, I say thank you for joining for sure. And for the rest of you, also thank you for joining. I am keeping to the four sprint run because again, I do need to actually do other stuff. Cryptic says finish the dishes and at least tried to plan what I'm doing for the rest of my day. So that's progress for sure. Uh, Again, I've got like bread, which I'll start and then have lunch while I'm waiting for the yeast. Then kneading, then give Benjamin a bath while I'm waiting for the bread to rise the first time around. Then slate kneading and in for the second proof. Then finish off a grocery order and fold laundry, do all that stuff, maybe tidy up the bathroom a little. Then then actually prep and bake the bread. And if I have time, cooking. If not, I'll probably include something easy to eat for the order, which I guess I will have done today. But it is a full day. As soon as I'm getting off, it will be prepping the yeast and getting lunch. But that having been said, let's look at the calendar real quick. So, tomorrow I have family over, so unfortunately it's going to be a full day. I've also explained that I'm spending the day before they come in the city, just sort of relaxing, going and getting some tea, maybe getting some books, making my way up before I need to pick them up. And then after that, so basically that means that I will not be around, unfortunately. Uh, so no further special streams. No streams Monday or Tuesday either because work and also I have other things to catch up on, meaning Final Fantasy stuff. But Wednesday, the 18th, will be our next night rights. So that's Wednesday the 18th at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. So if you like these runs and you kind of want to do more and weeknights are good for you, consider checking out night rights on Wednesday nights. So that the next session is Wednesday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time on the 18th of March. Then after that, unfortunately, I will probably be kind of wrapped up in stuff. Maybe we might do another special stream on the 20th. I did like doing last night's special stream. It is rough to wake up afterwards. Like, I did not want to get out of bed this morning, I admit. So, there's a question mark on the 20th about whether or not I want to do that again. It depends on whether or not I finish this chapter and whether or not I'm that eager about bees. But we'll see. But for sure, the next tea rights will be the 21st. So, tea rights on the 21st. That is 8:30 a.m. That is our next tea right session. And my God, it is almost the middle. It is basically the middle of March already. So we have made it halfway through a month, my dudes. Congratulations. But that having been said, Taisha says, good luck with the bread and chores. Thank you very much. And good luck with I don't think you've mentioned what you would be doing, but I hope you have an excellent day for sure. And in general, thank you all for coming. It's always a pleasure to run these, and I will continue to do so until somebody tells me to stop. No, I'm kidding. I'm going to continue to do these, period. But that having been said, thank you so much. As always, take care of yourselves, stay hydrated, know that you're loved, and I will cut it off here. So, see you on Wednesday, those of you who attend all of these, or see you on Saturday for those of you who just do morning sprints. Uh, Tisha says making a spaghetti squash pie for Pie Day. That sounds delicious. I didn't realize that you can make spaghetti squash pie, period. So good luck with that. But that having been said, have an excellent day, everybody, no matter what you're doing. And see you later.